Gloria's hands were shaking as she balanced the crystal decanter on the silver tray, navigating through the crowded living room of the penthouse in Atherton, California. The private estate party was in full swing, with at least 70 guests mingling in clusters, their laughter and conversation creating a wall of noise that made her head throb. Her employer, Mrs. Henderson, had warned her to stay invisible tonight. Serve the drinks, clear the glasses, and for heaven's sake, don't draw attention to yourself. Gloria had been working as a live-in maid for the Henderson family for 3 months now, ever since she'd moved to California from Houston. Every penny she earned went straight to her younger brother's medical bills. Devin was 16, battling leukemia, and the experimental treatment that was actually working cost more than Gloria could make in 5 years of normal employment. So she worked 3 jobs, the Hendersons' estate during the day, a coffee shop in Palo Alto 4 mornings a week, starting at 5 a.m., weekend cleaning services for a corporate office building in San Jose. She survived on 4 hours of sleep, energy drinks, and the desperate hope that Devin would live to see 17. Tonight's party was being held at a property the Hendersons managed but didn't own. The actual owner was some powerful Korean businessman who just relocated his operations to Silicon Valley. Gloria had never met him and didn't particularly want to. Rich people were all the same in her experience, demanding, entitled, and utterly indifferent to the staff who made their lives possible. She'd been specifically instructed to circulate with champagne and whiskey, keep the glasses full, and disappear back into the kitchen whenever possible. Simple enough, except the crowd kept growing, bodies pressing together, making navigation increasingly difficult. Gloria was heading toward the kitchen with her tray of expensive whiskey when someone bumped into her from behind. Hard. The impact sent her stumbling forward, the tray tilting dangerously. She tried to correct her balance, overcorrected, and felt herself falling. The tray flew from her hands. Crystal and amber liquid sailed through the air in what felt like slow motion. Gloria crashed down, not onto the hard marble floor like she expected, but onto something firm and warm, someone's lap. Her heart stopped completely when she looked up. The man whose lap she'd just landed on had the coldest, most striking face Gloria had ever seen. Sharp jawline that could cut glass. Dark, penetrating eyes that seemed to look straight through her skin into her soul. Perfectly styled black hair swept back from a face that belonged on magazine covers. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 30s, and he sat in an oversized leather chair like it was a throne. The entire room had gone silent. Gloria realized with mounting horror that at least a dozen men in expensive suits surrounded the chair, all of them frozen mid-conversation, staring at her with expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed hostility. The chair itself was positioned slightly elevated from the rest of the seating area, like this section was reserved for someone important. Someone very important. "I'm so sorry, Gloria tried to scramble up, her face burning with embarrassment. But before she could move, a strong hand gripped her waist, holding her firmly in place. "Stay!" The man's voice was low, commanding, with a slight Korean accent that made the single word sound like an imperial decree. Gloria's breath caught in her throat. "Sir, I need to get up, I have to clean." "I said stay." His grip tightened slightly, not painful, but absolutely immovable. His dark eyes never left her face, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle with awareness. She could feel every point of contact between their bodies. Her hip pressed against his thigh, his hand spanning her waist, thumb resting just below her ribcage, the warmth of him seeping through the thin fabric of her black uniform dress. The entire room was watching, but he didn't seem to care. Gloria's face had to be the color of a tomato. "Sir, please, everyone is starring." "Let them stare." He shifted slightly, adjusting her position on his lap like he was making her more comfortable, which only made everything infinitely more awkward. "You're the new maid." It wasn't a question. Gloria swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. I work for the Hendersons. Mrs. Henderson sent me to help with your party tonight. If you just let me go, I promise I'll stay completely out of your way for the rest of the evening." "No," the single word cut through her rambling. His hand remained firmly on her waist. "You'll stay exactly where you are until I decide otherwise." The men around him exchanged glances but said nothing. One of them, an older Korean man with steel-gray hair, cleared his throat softly. The man holding Gloria didn't even look at him, just made a small gesture with his free hand. The men began to disperse, moving away to give them privacy while still maintaining a protective perimeter. Gloria's mind raced. Was this some kind of power play? A test? Was he completely insane? She'd heard stories about eccentric billionaires, but this was ridiculous. "Sir, people are starving, and I really need to clean up the mess I made." "Someone else is already handling it." He gestured slightly with his chin. Gloria followed his gaze and saw that 3 staff members were indeed scrambling to clean up the spilled whiskey and broken crystal, moving with the kind of efficiency that spoke of genuine fear. "What's your name?" "Gloria, sir." "Gloria?" He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting each syllable. His thumb traced a small, absent circle on her waist through the fabric of her dress, sending an unwelcome shiver up her spine. "You work for the Hendersons." "Yes, sir, I already said that." One dark eyebrow rose slightly at her tone. "You're not afraid of me." "Should I be?" The words escaped before Gloria could stop them. She immediately regretted her sharp tone, but exhaustion and embarrassment had obliterated her filter. Instead of getting angry, the man smiled. It was a small smile, barely there, but it transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. "Most people are. You're either very brave or very foolish." "Probably foolish," Gloria muttered. "Look, I really need to get back to work. Mrs. Henderson is going to kill me." "Mrs. Henderson works for me tonight. I'll tell her you're occupied with a special assignment." His eyes never left her face, cataloging every detail. "Tell me, Gloria, why are you working 3 jobs?" Her blood ran cold. "How did you know about?" "I know everything that happens in my space. I make it my business to know." His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes, something almost like concern. "The Hendersons made service during the day. The coffee shop in Palo Alto 4 mornings a week, 5 a.m. start time. Weekend cleaning service for office buildings in San Jose. That's approximately 90 hours a week. You're going to burn out." Gloria felt violated, exposed. "I have my reasons. They're none of your business." "Your brother's hospital bills in Houston." He stated it as fact, not a question. "Devin, 16 years old. Leukemia treatment at MD Anderson. The experimental therapy is showing promising results, but it's not covered by insurance." Tears pricked Gloria's eyes. The casual way he laid out her private pain, her desperate circumstances, felt like being stripped naked in front of everyone. "Stop! Please just stop." For the first time, his expression softened almost imperceptibly. The hand on her waist gentled. "You're exhausted. When did you last eat a proper meal?" "That's really none of your business." "Everything in my world is my business, Gloria." His voice dropped lower, almost intimate despite the crowd around them. "And you just became part of my world the moment you landed in my lap." Gloria's heart hammered against her ribs. She should be afraid. This man clearly had power, resources, and an unsettling amount of information about her personal life. But instead of fear, she felt something else entirely. Something dangerous. "I don't even know your name," she whispered. "Young Min," he said it simply. "And I'm going to change your life, Gloria, if you let me." Before she could respond, he finally released her waist. Gloria stood on shaky legs, immediately feeling the loss of his warmth and hatting herself for it. Young Min remained seated, looking up at her with an expression she couldn't read. "Go back to the kitchen," he said. "Tell Mrs. Henderson you're finished for the evening. I'll handle any concerns she has." "Why are you being nice to me?" "I haven't decided yet if I'm being nice or selfish." Young Min's smile returned, mysterious and slightly dangerous. "Go, Gloria." "Before I changed my mind about letting you leave." Gloria fled to the kitchen, her heart racing, her skin still tingling where his hand had been. She had no idea what had just happened, but every instinct told her that her life had just changed forever. Gloria spent the rest of the party hiding in the kitchen, scrubbing dishes that had already been scrubbed, avoiding the knowing looks from the other staff members. Word had clearly spread about the new maid, who'd literally fallen into the host's lap, and been held there like some kind of prized possession. Mrs. Henderson found her around 11 p.m., just as the party was winding down. The older woman's expression was unreadable, somewhere between concerned and calculating. "Gloria, Mr. Youngmin has requested to see you in the study before you leave tonight." Mrs. Henderson's voice was carefully neutral. "Alone." Gloria's stomach dropped. "Mrs. Henderson, I swear I didn't mean to fall on him. Someone pushed me." "I'm not accusing you of anything, dear. Mr. Youngmin was very clear that it was an accident." The older woman's expression softened slightly. "But he was also very clear that he wants to speak with you privately before you go. Study is down the hall, third door on the left." The walk to the study felt like a death march. Gloria's mind spun with possibilities, none of them good. Maybe he was angry about the spilled whiskey and broken crystal. Maybe he was going to fire her, or worse, get her fired from the Henderson position. Maybe he was some kind of predator who collected vulnerable women. She knocked softly on the heavy wooden door. "Come in," Youngmin's voice came from inside. Gloria entered and closed the door behind her, staying near the exit like a cornered animal ready to bolt. The study was beautiful, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, expensive artwork, a massive desk made of dark wood. Youngmin stood by the window, looking out over the Atherton Hills glittering with mansion lights. He'd removed his suit jacket. His crisp white dress shirt was rolled up to his elbows, revealing surprisingly muscular forearms. He didn't turn around immediately. "Close the door properly, Gloria." She obeyed, her hand trembling slightly on the doorknob. "I'm offering you a job." Youngmin turned to face her, his expression unreadable in the low lamplight. "As my personal assistant. The salary is $300,000 a year, plus full benefits. Housing provided at my primary residence in Hillsborough. Complete health insurance for both you and your brother, including full coverage of his current treatment and any future medical needs. I'll also pay off his existing medical debt, all of it." Gloria's knees nearly gave out. She grabbed the back of a nearby chair for support. "What?" "You heard me correctly." "That's insane. Why would you possibly?" "Because I want you close to me." Youngmin crossed the room, stopping just a few feet away from her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. "There's something about you, Gloria. The way you looked at me tonight. No fear, just defiance and fire. The way you tried to protect your dignity even when you were mortified. I find it refreshing." "I'm not qualified to be anyone's personal assistant. I clean houses and serve coffee." "You're intelligent, resourceful, and you work harder than anyone I've ever met. You manage 3 jobs, care for a sick brother, and still manage to show up with your head held high." His eyes searched her face. "You'll learn everything else. I'll teach you." Gloria's mind was spinning too fast to process. $300,000, Devon's medical bills paid off, full health insurance. It sounded like a dream, which meant it was probably a nightmare in disguise. What exactly would I be assisting with? My schedule, my meetings, my properties. I run several legitimate international businesses, import and export, corporate acquisitions, commercial real estate development. Nothing illegal. A slight smirk touched his lips. Disappointed. Relieved, actually. Gloria forced herself to think clearly despite the adrenaline flooding her system. But there has to be a catch. Nobody offers that kind of money without expecting something in return. Smart. Youngmin's smirk widened slightly. The catch is that I have competitors, people who would happily use anyone close to me as leverage or worse. For your safety, you'd need to live in my primary residence in Hillsborough. Separate wing, complete privacy, your own entrance if you want it, but you'd need to be on call for business matters. You want me to live with you? Gloria stated it flatly, waiting for the other shoe to drop. In the same house, not with me. His eyes glinted with something that might have been amusement. Unless you're offering something beyond professional assistance. Heat flooded Gloria's cheeks. I'm not. Pity. Youngmin pulled a business card from his pocket and held it out. The card stock was heavy, expensive, with minimal text, just a name and a phone number. You have 24 hours to decide. Call this number with your answer. Gloria took the card with shaking fingers. The name read simply, Young Min, no company, no title, just his name like that was all the information anyone would ever need. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Really, there are thousands of qualified assistants in Silicon Valley who'd kill for this opportunity." Young Min's expression grew serious. He stepped even closer, close enough that Gloria had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "Because when you fell into my lap tonight, Gloria, something clicked into place. Like the universe was correcting an error. Like you were supposed to be exactly there, exactly then." His hand came up, almost touching her face before he seemed to think better of it and dropped it back to his side. "I don't ignore signs like that. And I don't let go of things I'm meant to have. I'm not a thing to be had. No, you're a woman who deserves better than killing herself for minimum wage while the world ignores your worth." His voice dropped lower, more intimate. "Let me give you better, Gloria. Let me give you everything." The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Gloria's breath came faster. "This is crazy." "Probably. Is that a no?" She should say no. Every rational instinct screamed at her to walk away from this beautiful, intense, overwhelming man and his impossible offer. But then she thought of Devon, struggling through another round of chemotherapy. She thought of her tiny shared apartment with its broken air conditioning and roaches. She thought of dragging herself through 90-hour work weeks with no end in sight. "I'll call you tomorrow," Gloria whispered. "I'll be waiting." Young Min stepped back, giving her space to breathe again. "My driver will take you home. It's late." "I can take the bus." "My driver will take you home, Gloria. Get used to accepting help. It's going to be a requirement of the job." Gloria fled before she could do something stupid like agree on the spot, or, worse, ask him why he was looking at her like she was precious. The driver was waiting outside in a black Mercedes that probably cost more than Gloria would make in 5 years. The ride back to her apartment took 20 minutes, and she spent every second staring at Young Min's business card, wondering if she was about to make the best decision of her life or the worst. When she finally crawled into bed at 2 a.m., she dreamed of dark eyes and strong hands and the feeling of being exactly where she was supposed to be. She called the number at 8 a.m. the next morning. Young Min answered on the first ring. "Yes or no, Gloria?" She took a deep breath. "Yes, but I have conditions." "Name them." He sounded pleased, like he'd known exactly what her answer would be. "Devon comes first, always. If he needs me, I go to him, no matter what meeting or event you have scheduled." "Agreed. I'll arrange for a private medical transport to bring him here to California. Better treatment options, and you can see him every day." Gloria's throat tightened. "You don't have to." "I want to. What else?" "If this gets weird, if you try anything inappropriate, I walk. No questions, no guilt trips." "You have my word. Though I should mention that if something happens between us, Gloria, it will be because you want it as much as I do. I don't force anything." His voice held absolute certainty. "Anything else?" "I want it in writing, all of it. The salary, the medical coverage, everything." "My lawyer will have a contract ready by this afternoon. Anything else?" Gloria closed her eyes. "Why does this feel like I'm making a deal with the devil?" Young Min laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Because you're smart enough to know that nothing this good comes without complications. But I promise you." "Gloria, I'll be the best devil you ever dealt with." "When do I start?" "Tomorrow, I'll send a car at 8 a.m. He paused. "Thank you for saying yes." "Thank you for the opportunity, I think." "You won't regret this." Gloria hung up and stared at her phone, wondering if she'd just changed her life for the better or walked willingly into a beautiful trap. Either way, there was no going back now. The car that picked Gloria up the next morning was even more intimidating than the Mercedes from 2 nights ago. This was a full luxury SUV with tinted windows and a driver who looked more like security than transportation. He loaded her single suitcase, everything she owned fit in one bag, without comment, and opened her door with professional courtesy. The drive to Hillsborough took 40 minutes through increasingly wealthy neighborhoods until they reached actual estate territory. When they pulled up to Young Min's property, Gloria's breath caught. The house wasn't just a mansion. It was a compound, modern architecture blended with traditional Korean elements, all clean lines and natural materials. The property sprawled across what had to be at least 5 acres, with gardens, a pool that looked more like a natural pond, and security measures that were visible enough to be deterrent but subtle enough to maintain the aesthetic. A woman in her 50s met Gloria at the door, her smile warm and genuine. "Miss Gloria, I'm Helen, the house manager. Let me show you to your quarters." Gloria's quarters turned out to be an entire guest suite bigger than the apartment she'd been sharing with 2 roommates. Bedroom, bathroom with a soaking tub, sitting area, and a small kitchenette. The closet was walk-in and already stocked with clothes in her exact size. "Mr. Youngmin had these sent over," Helen explained, noticing Gloria's shocked expression. "He wasn't sure of your style, so there's variety. Anything you don't like can be returned." Gloria ran her hand over a silk blouse that probably cost more than her monthly rent used to. "This is too much." "Mr. Youngmin doesn't do anything by halves. You'll learn." Helen's smile turned knowing. "He's waiting for you in his office. 3rd floor, east wing. I'll show you the way." Youngmin's home office was as impressive as everything else about him. Wall of windows overlooking the property, minimalist furniture, and technology that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. He stood as Gloria entered, dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. "Gloria, good, you're early." He gestured to a chair across from his desk. "We have a meeting in San Francisco in 45 minutes. You'll shadow me today. Watch, learn, take notes if you want, but don't speak unless I ask you a direct question." "Understood." Gloria bristled at the commanding tone, but nodded. "Understood." "Good, one more thing." Youngmin crossed to stand in front of her, too close again. He seemed to have no concept of personal space where she was concerned. "The clothes Helen showed you aren't a gift. They're work attire. What you're wearing now is fine for today, but starting tomorrow, you'll need to dress for the environments we'll be moving through." Gloria looked down at her simple black dress and modest heels. "What's wrong with what I'm wearing?" "Nothing is wrong with it, but we'll be meeting with CEOs, investors, and international business partners. First impressions matter in my world." His expression softened slightly. "This isn't about changing who you are, Gloria. It's about armor. The right clothes give you confidence and command respect. Trust me." She wanted to argue but couldn't find the energy. "Fine, but I'm not wearing anything I can't move in." "Fair enough." Youngmin's lips quirked. "Let's go, and Gloria, if I'm moving too fast or being too controlling, tell me. I'm not used to explaining my decisions, but I'll try with you." The drive to San Francisco was surreal. Youngmin spent most of it on phone calls, switching seamlessly between English and Korean. Gloria watched him work, noticing details. The way his jaw tightened when someone said something he didn't like. How he rubbed his right shoulder when stressed. The fact that he drank green tea from a thermos instead of coffee. The meeting was in a high-rise downtown, a sleek conference room filled with men in expensive suits. Youngmin commanded the room effortlessly, presenting a proposal for a corporate acquisition with the kind of confidence that made disagreement seem foolish. Gloria took notes more out of nervousness than necessity, trying to understand the complex financial terms flying around. She noticed something else, too. The way men looked at Youngmin with respect, yes, but also with fear. Not the fear of violence, but the fear of disappointing someone whose opinion mattered. Youngmin wielded power like a scalpel, precise and effective. 3 hours and 2 meetings later, they took a break. Youngmin led her to a quiet corner of the building's executive lounge. "You haven't said a word in 5 hours. Thoughts?" "You're intense." He laughed. "That's one word for it. You look exhausted." "I'm fine." "You haven't eaten today." It wasn't a question. Youngmin pulled out his phone. "What sounds good?" "I said I'm fine." "Gloria," he looked up from his phone, expression serious. "Part of your job is maintaining your health so you can do your job well. That means eating. So I'll ask again, what sounds good?" "I don't know, whatever you're having." "Korean food it is." He made a quick call in Korean, then pocketed his phone. "We have an hour before the next meeting. Come on." He took her to a small Korean restaurant in Palo Alto, a place that seemed completely at odds with his usual expensive taste. The owner greeted Youngmin like family, ushering them to a back table with obvious affection. "You come here often?" Gloria asked as Young Min ordered in Korean. "At least once a week when I'm in town. Mrs. Kim's kimchi jjigae tastes exactly like my mother's." His expression softened with memory, making him look younger, less intimidating. "When I first moved to the States, I'd come here whenever I felt homesick. Mrs. Kim kind of adopted me." "You get homesick?" "Sometimes. Korea is home, but it's also where all my family obligations live. Here, I can just be Young Min, not the heir to anything." He studied her face. "What about you? Do you miss Houston?" "I miss Devon, the city itself. Not really. It was just where I happened to be." "Now you're here." "Now I'm here," Gloria echoed, still not quite believing her new reality. The food arrived, steaming stew, rice, and at least 6 side dishes. Young Min showed her how to eat it properly, his hands occasionally brushing hers as he guided her through the meal. The touch sent sparks up her arm that she tried desperately to ignore. "This is amazing," Gloria said around a mouthful of perfectly seasoned stew. "Mrs. Kim will be thrilled you like it." Young Min smiled, and Gloria realized she was seeing the real him for the first time. Not the commanding businessman or the intimidating stranger from the party, but just a man who missed his mother's cooking. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For the food, for the job, for all of it." "Thank you for saying yes." His eyes held hers. "I meant what I said, Gloria. You being here feels right, like something that was always supposed to happen." Gloria's breath caught. The air between them shifted, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. She looked away first, focusing on her food, trying to ignore the way her heart raced. This was her boss, her very generous, very intense, very attractive boss. She needed to remember that, needed to maintain professional boundaries. Even if every instinct screamed that Young Min had no intention of staying on his side of those boundaries. And worse, Gloria wasn't sure she wanted him to. 3 weeks into her new job, Gloria had developed a routine. She woke at 6, worked out in Young Min's private gym, dressed in one of the increasingly familiar designer outfits, and met him for breakfast at 7:30. They'd review the day's schedule, discuss any issues, and then dive into whatever crisis or opportunity the day brought. She learned fast. Young Min's businesses were complex, but not illegal like she'd half feared. He brokered deals between Korean and American companies, facilitated international acquisitions, and invested in promising startups. Everything was above board, just played at a level where most people never got to see. But the real complexity wasn't the business. It was Young Min himself. He found reasons to touch her constantly, adjusting her collar before important meetings, claiming a thread was out of place, guiding her through crowded rooms with a hand on her lower back that lingered too long, standing close enough when reviewing documents that she could feel his breath on her neck. Nothing overtly inappropriate, but everything deliberate. Gloria told herself it didn't affect her. She was lying. The breaking point came on a Thursday night, 3 weeks and 4 days after she'd started. They were in Young Min's home office preparing for a major acquisition deal. The target company was being difficult, demanding changes to terms that Young Min had already bent over backwards to accommodate. He was frustrated, which meant he was quieter than usual, his jaw tight with tension. Gloria had been staring at spreadsheets for 6 hours straight. Her head pounded, her shoulders ached, and exhaustion pulled at her bones despite only working 1 job now instead of 3. She rubbed her temples, trying to focus on the numbers that were starting to blur together. "Take a break," Young Min's voice came from across the desk. "I'm fine, just trying to understand why they're pushing back on the timeline when we've already." "Gloria, break now." She looked up, ready to argue, but the expression on his face stopped her. Concern, not irritation. "You're running on 4 hours of sleep," he said quietly. "I can see it." "How would you know how much I slept?" "Because I hear you moving around at 3 a.m. The walls between our wings aren't as thick as the architect claimed." Young Min stood and circled the desk. "What keeps you awake?" "You," Gloria thought, but absolutely did not say. Just adjusting to everything. New place, new job, new life. "Liar," he stopped behind her chair. "You're carrying tension like armor. Let me help." Before she could protest, his hands settled on her shoulders, strong fingers finding the knots of tension and working them with practiced skill. Gloria gasped, her back arching involuntarily at the sensation. "Young Min, just relax. Let me take care of you for once instead of the other way around." His voice had dropped lower, more intimate. His hands were magic. They found every tight muscle, every spot of pain, and methodically worked it loose. Gloria's head fell forward as a sound somewhere between a sigh and a moan escaped her throat. Young Min's hands stilled instantly. The air in the room changed, thickening with tension of an entirely different kind. Gloria, the way he said her name made her shiver. She turned in her chair to face him, which was a mistake. They were inches apart. His dark eyes had gone nearly black, filled with an emotion she recognized because she felt it burning through her own veins. "This is inappropriate," Gloria whispered. "Extremely," but Young Min didn't move away. If anything, he leaned closer. "I work for you. You could quit. I need this job." "No, you don't." His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "I'd still pay for Devon's treatment. I'd still make sure you're taken care of, job or no job. The employment was just an excuse to keep you close, Gloria. We both know it." Her breath caught. Young Min. The office door burst open without warning. A tall, elegant Korean woman in a designer dress stood in the doorway, her expression perfectly composed but her eyes sharp with calculation and barely suppressed fury. "Oppa," she said sweetly in Korean-accented English, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Your mother sent me to remind you about dinner tomorrow night, our engagement dinner." The word engagement hit Gloria like a physical blow. She stood abruptly, Young Min's hand falling away from her face. Ice flooded her veins, washing away the heat of 30 seconds ago. Young Min's expression went carefully blank, his business mask sliding into place. "Jaewon, this is my assistant, Gloria." "How nice." Jaewon's smile was poison wrapped in silk. She looked Gloria up and down with the kind of dismissive assessment that made her feel small despite the expensive clothes. "Oppa, we need to discuss the dinner arrangements. Privately." "Of course." Young Min's voice was perfectly professional, but something flickered in his eyes when he glanced at Gloria. Regret. Guilt. She couldn't tell and didn't want to know. Gloria grabbed her tablet and bag. "I'll just—" "Stay," Young Min ordered. "We're not finished with the—" "No, I think we're very finished." Gloria headed for the door, not trusting herself to look at him. "I'll review the rest of the documentation tonight and have notes for you in the morning." "Gloria." But she was already gone, fleeing down the hallway toward her wing of the house, her heart cracking into pieces she didn't even know existed. Engaged. He was engaged. And she'd almost kissed him, had wanted to kiss him with an intensity that scared her. Gloria locked herself in her room and let the tears come, hatting herself for being stupid enough to think that a man like Young Min could actually want someone like her for real. Of course there was someone else. Someone appropriate, someone from his world, someone who wasn't a maid who'd literally fallen into his lap by accident. She'd been a fool, a distraction, a temporary amusement. Gloria cried until she had no tears left, then pulled out her laptop and started updating her resume. 3 weeks wasn't long enough to put on a CV, but maybe the Hendersons would take her back. She didn't hear the knock on her door 2 hours later, or the sound of Young Min's voice calling her name. She was too busy planning her escape from the beautiful trap she'd walked into willingly. Gloria spent the next 2 days avoiding Young Min completely. She claimed illness, which wasn't entirely a lie since her stomach churned with anxiety and her head pounded with stress, and stayed locked in her room. Helen brought her food that she mostly didn't eat. Young Min texted, called, and eventually started leaving messages outside her door. She ignored all of it. On the 3rd day, he stopped being polite. Gloria was lying in bed at 10 a.m., staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out how to extract herself from this situation with her dignity intact, when her door opened without warning. Young Min stood in the doorway, and he looked terrible. His hair was disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His dress shirt was wrinkled. She'd never seen him in wrinkled clothes before. He looked like a man hanging on to control by his fingernails. "You can't just walk into my room," Gloria said, sitting up. "It's my house, and we're going to talk whether you like it or not." Young Min closed the door behind him and leaned against it, blocking her exit. 3 days, Gloria. You've ignored me for 3 days. I was sick. You were hiding. There's a difference. Fine, I was hiding. Happy. Gloria wrapped her arms around herself. What do you want, Young Min? To explain how you forgot to mention you're engaged? To tell me that whatever was happening between us was just you being bored? I'm not engaged. The words came out harsh, almost angry. Not really, not in any way that matters. Your fiancé seemed pretty confident about your engagement dinner. Jaiwon is my father's choice, not mine. It's an arrangement made years ago between our families. I've been refusing for the past 5 years. Young Min pushed off the door and crossed to her bed, sitting on the edge without invitation. She showed up unannounced, trying to manipulate the situation. Gloria wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly. Why should I trust anything you say? You've been touching me, looking at me like... She couldn't finish the sentence. Like I'm falling in love with you, Young Min finished quietly. Because I am, Gloria. Have been since the night you fell into my lap and looked at me like I was just a man instead of a title or a bank account or a business opportunity. Her breath caught. Don't say things you don't mean. I never say things I don't mean. It's a character flaw. He reached for her hand, and Gloria let him take it, adding how right his touch felt. Let me explain, please. Gloria nodded, not trusting her voice. Young Min took a deep breath. My father is dying. Lung cancer, stage 4. He has maybe 6 months, probably less. His final wish, his dying wish, is to see me married to Jaiwon. It would unite our family businesses in Korea, create an empire that would last generations. I'm so sorry about your father. I'm sorry too, but I don't love Jaiwon. I don't even like her. She's cruel, manipulative, and cares more about status than actual people. His grip on Gloria's hand tightened. I've been fighting this engagement for 5 years. I moved to America partially to escape it. But now, with my father dying, the pressure is... He stopped, jaw working. Unbearable, Gloria finished softly. Yes, Young Min looked at her with raw honesty. And then you showed up. This beautiful, fierce, stubborn woman who makes me laugh, who challenges me, who sees me, really sees me, not what I can provide or what family I come from. Just me. Tears pricked Gloria's eyes. Young Min. I can't stop thinking about you. I wake up thinking about you. I go to sleep thinking about you. You're the first thing I want to see every morning and the last person I want to talk to every night. He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. Tell me I'm not alone in this. Tell me you feel it too. Of course I feel it. The words burst out of Gloria like a dam breaking. I feel it so much it terrifies me, but your father is dying and wants you to marry someone else. I'm your employee. This is such a disaster. So we'll create a new story, a better one. Young Min's intensity was overwhelming, all of it focused on her. Give me time to handle my father, to break the arrangement properly and permanently. I won't dishonor him while he's dying, but I won't let Jaiwon manipulate me either. Just don't leave. Please, Gloria, don't leave me. The please broke her completely. Gloria had never heard Young Min beg for anything. He commanded, he directed, he expected obedience. But right now, he was just a man asking the woman he loved not to abandon him. 1 month, Gloria whispered. You have 1 month to sort out your family situation. After that, if nothing has changed, I'm gone. I won't be your secret or your distraction or... You're not a secret or a distraction, you're everything. Young Min pulled her into his arms, and Gloria let herself be held, breathing in his scent, feeling his heartbeat against her cheek. I only need 2 weeks. I'll fix this, Gloria, I promise. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this impossible situation could somehow work out. Okay, she whispered into his chest. 2 weeks. Young Min pulled back just enough to look at her face, his hand coming up to brush away the tears on her cheeks. I'm going to kiss you now. If you don't want me to, tell me to stop. Gloria didn't tell him to stop. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like Young Min was afraid she might break. But when Gloria's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, he deepened it with a groan. His hand tangled in her hair, angling her head for better access. Gloria had been kissed before, but never like this. Never with this level of intensity, like she was air and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Young Min rested his forehead against hers. 2 weeks, I'll fix everything, I promise. You better, Gloria managed. Because I'm not sharing you with anyone, Young Min, not even your family obligations. He laughed, the sound filled with relief and joy. Possessive, I like it. Shut up and kiss me again. He did, and for a few perfect minutes, the world and all its complications faded away. What neither of them noticed was the slim figure standing in the hallway outside Gloria's door. Phone camera capturing every moment of their embrace through the gap Young Min had left when he'd closed the door. Jaiwon smiled coldly, reviewing the photos and the audio recording. This was even better than she'd hoped. If she couldn't have Young Min through family obligation, she'd destroy him by destroying the thing he actually wanted. This nobody girl who thought she could take what Jaiwon had been promised. The war was just beginning. Gloria woke up to 53 missed calls and her phone vibrating nonstop with notifications. It was 6 a.m. on a Saturday, 3 days after Young Min had kissed her and promised to fix everything. 3 days of stolen moments, private smiles, and the kind of hope Gloria had thought she'd lost the ability to feel. She grabbed her phone, confused, and her stomach dropped when she saw the first headline. Korean business airs secret black mistress exposed. Below it was a photo of her in Young Min's arms, his hand in her hair, their lips locked together. The angle made it look even more intimate than it had been, if that was possible. Gloria's hands shook as she scrolled. More photos, more headlines, each one worse than the last. Gold digger targets engaged billionaire while his father dies. From maid to mistress, the calculated seduction of Young Min. Scandal rocks family empire as heir abandons dying father's wishes. There were hundreds of comments, thousands of shares. People she'd never met calling her every degrading name imaginable, dissecting her appearance, her background, her worth as a human being. Someone had leaked her address in Houston, details about Devon's illness, photos of her from high school looking awkward and young. They were destroying her in real time, and she was powerless to stop it. Gloria's phone rang. Devon. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it. Dev, I can. There are people outside the hospital. Her 16-year-old brother's voice was scared, young in a way it hadn't been since his diagnosis. Reporters asking about you and some Korean guy. Gloria, what's happening? Are you okay? Rage unlike anything Gloria had ever felt flooded through her. They could call her whatever they wanted, but they'd brought Devon into this. A sick child who'd done nothing except have the bad luck of being related to her. I'm fine, baby. Listen to me. Don't talk to anyone, okay? Not reporters, not random people, nobody. I'm fixing this. The nurses are trying to keep them away. But, Gloria, some of the stuff they're saying about you online is really bad. It's not true. None of it is true. She forced her voice to stay calm. I'll call the hospital administration. They'll increase security. You're safe, I promise. They talked for a few more minutes before a nurse needed Devon for morning medications. Gloria hung up and stared at her phone, watching her life implode in real time. There was a sharp knock on her door. Gloria, open up now, Young Min's voice. She opened the door to find him looking furious, phone in hand, jaw so tight she thought it might crack. Behind him stood Helen and 2 men in suits who looked like security or lawyers. Jaiwon did this, Young Min said without preamble. She hired people to follow us to manufacture this narrative. I'm handling it. Handling it how? Gloria's voice came out cold, detached. Shock was setting in. By releasing a statement calling me your employee, by denying everything, by telling the truth, that I'm ending the engagement arrangement, that I'm choosing you, that my personal life is no one's business but mine. Young Min tried to reach for her, but Gloria stepped back. There at Devon's hospital, reporters harassing a 16-year-old cancer patient. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I won't do this to him. I won't let him suffer because I was stupid enough to think this could work. Gloria, don't. I'm resigning. Today, I'll issue a statement saying it was all a misunderstanding, that I'm just an employee who got caught up in false rumors, whatever you need me to say to make this go away. Her voice cracked despite her best efforts. Just make them leave my brother alone. Absolutely not. Young Min's voice was steel. I'm not letting you sacrifice yourself because Jaiwon is vindictive. It's not about Jaiwon. Gloria's control finally shattered. It's about reality. Young Min, look at these comments. Look at what they're saying about me, about us. I'm the help who seduced her way into your bed. You're the heir who betrayed his dying father. This is destroying your business reputation, your family honor, everything you've built. I don't care about any of that without you. You will. Eventually, you'll resent me for being the reason you lost everything. She wrapped her arms around herself. I'm going back to Houston. Today, I'll stay away from you, make it clear it was all a mistake, whatever needs to happen. Just please make them leave Devon alone. Gloria. Please, the word came out broken. Please just let me go. Young Min looked at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Is that really what you want, to run? It's what has to happen. No, what has to happen is I protect what's mine. He turned to one of the men in suits. Increase security at MD Anderson. Nobody gets near Devon or his floor without explicit clearance. Press releases go out in an hour. I'm formally ending any and all arrangement discussions with the Kim family. Personal statement from me only, no mention of Gloria beyond confirming she's a valued employee who deserves privacy. Young Min, that's not going to be enough. I'm not finished. He turned back to her. I have a call scheduled with my father in 2 hours. I'm telling him the truth, that I won't marry Jaiwon, that I'm building my life here in America, and that I've found someone I actually love. If he disowns me, so be it. Gloria's breath caught. Your father is dying, you can't. I can and I will. He has 3 other children who actually want to run his business empire. He'll survive without me. Young Min's expression softened slightly. Gloria, I spent 28 years being who everyone else needed me to be. For once in my life, I want to be who I actually am, and I'm a man in love with you. Even if it costs you everything. You are everything, don't you understand that yet? He stepped closer, and this time Gloria didn't back away. Let me fight for you, let me fight for us. They're calling me a gold digger, a homewrecker. They're wrong, and we'll prove it. Young Min cupped her face in his hands. Trust me, please, just a little longer. Gloria wanted to. God, she wanted to so badly. But the hatred pouring from her phone, the fear in Devon's voice, the reality of their impossible situation, it all felt like too much. I can't watch you destroy your life for me, she whispered. Then watch me build a better one, with you. He kissed her forehead gently. 2 hours. Give me 2 hours to talk to my father and start fixing this. If you still want to leave after that, I won't stop you. It was the I won't stop you that convinced her. Young Min could have ordered her to stay, use their contract or his resources to trap her. Instead, he was giving her the choice. 2 hours, Gloria agreed quietly. Young Min nodded and left with his team, already making calls in rapid Korean. Helen lingered in the doorway. For what it's worth, dear, I've worked for Mr. Young Min for 5 years. I've never seen him like this with anyone. The older woman's smile was kind. He means it, every word. I hope you're right, Gloria whispered. She spent the next 2 hours in her room, watching the internet tear her apart while waiting to see if the man she loved could actually pull off a miracle. The call with Young Min's father lasted 27 minutes. Gloria knew because she sat in the hallway outside his office, listening to raised voices in Korean even though she couldn't understand the words. The emotion was clear enough: anger, disappointment, pleading, more anger. Then silence. Young Min emerged looking exhausted but resolved. He disowned me, cut me off from the family business in Korea, rescinded my inheritance rights, the whole dramatic speech. Gloria's heart sank. Young Min. Best decision I ever made. He smiled, and it was genuine despite the pain in his eyes. I have my own resources, my own investments that were separate from the family holdings. I'll be fine financially, better than fine. But your father. Has 3 other children who actually want his empire. He'll be okay, and maybe someday we'll reconcile, maybe not. Young Min pulled her into his arms. But I won't spend my life in a cage to make other people comfortable. I'm free, Gloria. For the first time in my life, I'm actually free. Gloria buried her face in his chest. The internet still hates me. The internet hates everyone. Give it 2 days, and there'll be a new scandal. He pulled back to look at her face. I've also hired a crisis management team. They're working on correcting the narrative, pursuing legal action against the worst offenders, and making sure Devon is protected. This is insane. Your whole life is imploding, and you're building a better one with you if you'll stay. Youngmin's expression turned serious. I know this is moving fast. I know I'm asking you to weather a storm that isn't your fault. If you want to leave, I'll understand. I'll make sure you and Devon are taken care of regardless. But Gloria, his voice dropped. Please stay. Please fight with me. Please let me prove that we're worth all of this. Before Gloria could answer, Helen appeared in the hallway. Sir, there's a situation. Ms. Kim is at the gate with reporters claiming you invited her for dinner. Youngmin's expression went cold. Call security, have her removed, and get me legal on the phone. I want a restraining order filed today. As Helen rushed off, Youngmin turned back to Gloria. I need to handle this. Will you be here when I get back? Gloria thought about running. Thought about how easy it would be to pack her single suitcase and disappear back to Houston, back to obscurity and safety. Thought about Devon asking if she was okay, about Youngmin's father dying angry at his son, about the thousands of strangers who thought they knew her story. Then she thought about Youngmin's hands in her hair, his laugh when she challenged him, the way he'd given up everything without hesitation because he loved her. I'll be here, she whispered. Youngmin kissed her, hard and desperate and relieved. I love you. I love you too. Now go handle your psychotic ex-fiancé. He left, and Gloria went to her room to call Devon. They talked for an hour, Gloria explaining as much as she could without overwhelming him. To her surprise, Devon was more concerned about her than himself. He gave up his inheritance for you. Her little brother sounded odd. That's like something from a movie. It's completely insane. It's romantic, and if he hurts you, I'll find a way to hurt him back. Devon's voice turned fierce despite his age. But Gloria, you deserve someone who chooses you. You've spent your whole life taking care of me. Let someone take care of you for once. After they hung up, Gloria sat in silence, processing everything. Her phone continued buzzing with notifications, but the crisis team Youngmin hired must have been working because some of the headlines were starting to shift. Youngmin breaks engagement to follow his heart. Business heir chooses love over family obligation. The real story behind the photos, a love worth fighting for. It would take time for public opinion to fully shift, but at least the narrative was changing. A week later, Youngmin flew to Houston. He didn't tell Gloria he was coming, just showed up at MD Anderson with a team of doctors, lawyers, and what looked like hospital administrators. Devon called her, practically screaming. Your boyfriend just showed up and bought the hospital, or like part of it. I don't understand what's happening, but everyone is freaking out. Gloria's heart stopped. Dev, slow down. He's here, in my room. He wants to talk to you. There was rustling, then Youngmin's voice came on the line. Hello, Gloria. What did you do? She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Acquired a controlling interest in the hospital network. Devon's treatment is now fully covered in perpetuity, no insurance complications, access to any experimental treatments that might help. Also, I like your brother. He has excellent taste in video games. Gloria heard Devon in the background. He's actually pretty cool, Gloria, even if he is rich and kind of scary. Can we talk? Youngmin asked. In person. You're in Houston, and I'm in California. Check your front door. Gloria walked to her suite entrance and opened it. Youngmin stood there, phone still to his ear, looking travel-worn and perfect and completely insane. You flew to Houston to meet my brother, bought a hospital, then flew back, Gloria asked. I wanted to meet the person most important to you, and the hospital thing was practical. Devon deserves the best care without insurance companies interfering. Youngmin pocketed his phone and stepped closer. Also, I missed you. We've been in the same house for a week and I still miss you. We've been laying low while the media circus dies down. I'm done laying low. He dropped to one knee right there in her doorway, pulling a small box from his pocket. Gloria, I've spent 28 years living according to other people's expectations. Then you fell into my lap and showed me what actually living feels like. I love your strength, your loyalty to Devon, your terrible habit of skipping meals when you're focused on work. I love how you challenge me and see me as just Young Min instead of a title or bank account. I love you, marry me. Not because it makes sense, or because the internet has opinions, but because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Gloria stared at the ring, simple, elegant, perfect, then at Young Min's face. You're completely insane. Insanely in love with you. Is that a yes? From the phone still connected to Devon. Say yes, Gloria. This is so cool. Gloria laughed, tears streaming down her face. Yes, God help us both, yes. Young Min stood and kissed her, right there in the hallway, while Devon whooped from Houston and Helen applauded from somewhere behind them. It was imperfect and complicated and probably still going to face 1,000 challenges. But it was theirs, real and chosen and worth fighting for. And for the first time in her life, Gloria felt like she was exactly where she belonged. 6 months later, Gloria stood in the kitchen of their new home in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Young Min had chosen the Boston suburb specifically because it was far enough from Silicon Valley to feel like a fresh start, but close enough to major business hubs to maintain his ventures. The house was smaller than the Hillsborough mansion, a beautiful colonial that they'd picked together, arguing good-naturedly about everything from paint colors to which direction the bed should face. It felt like home, in a way the mansion never had. Gloria had just finished making breakfast when arms wrapped around her waist from behind. She leaned back into Young Min's embrace, comfortable in a way that still sometimes surprised her. Good morning, Mrs. Young Min, he murmured against her neck. She'd kept her first name as Gloria but legally added his family name, a compromise that felt right. Good morning. You're up early. Conference call with Seoul in an hour, something about the acquisition we've been negotiating. Young Min turned her in his arms. But I had to see you first. Doctor's appointment today, right? Gloria's hand went automatically to her still flat stomach. At 2, Helen's driving me. I'll cancel the call. You will not. It's just a checkup. She kissed him softly. The baby and I will be fine for one appointment without you hovering. I don't hover. You absolutely hover. You've hovered for 6 months straight. But Gloria smiled as she said it, because Young Min's protective intensity was just part of who he was. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind. Young Min had indeed been fine financially, better than fine. Freed from his father's shadow and expectations, he'd built a consulting firm that was making waves in international business circles. Gloria ran the community outreach division, using her experience to help other families drowning in medical debt. It turned out that empathy and understanding were valuable business skills. Devon had moved in with them 2 months ago, his leukemia in full remission. He was attending a prestigious prep school in the area and thriving in ways that made Gloria cry happy tears at least once a week. He and Young Min had bonded over video games and Korean food, the little brother Young Min never had and the father figure Devon desperately needed. Things weren't perfect. Young Min's mother called sometimes, trying to rebuild bridges her husband had burned. Jaiwan had attempted to sabotage their business twice before legal action finally made her back off. The internet still occasionally ran, where are they now pieces, though public opinion had shifted to mostly positive. Young Min's father had died 4 months ago. Young Min had flown back to Seoul for the funeral, and Gloria had gone with him, facing his family with her head high. It had been painful and complicated, but Young Min had made his peace with it. What are you thinking about? Young Min asked, studying her face. How weird life is. A year ago, I was a maid working 3 jobs. Now I'm pregnant, engaged to you. Married to me. We're not married yet. Wedding is in 3 weeks. Technicality, you're mine in every way that matters. Young Min kissed her forehead. Are you happy, Gloria? Really happy? Because if there's anything you need, anything at all. I'm ridiculously happy. She cupped his face. Are you? Do you ever regret giving up your father's empire, your inheritance, all of it? Not for a single second. Youngmin's expression was fierce. You're my empire now. You and Devon and this baby we're going to have. Everything else is just details. I love you. I love you more. Which reminds me, he pulled back, suddenly looking uncertain in a way that was rare for him. I know we planned to wait until after the baby was born to get married, but Devon's doing so well, and I was thinking maybe we could move the wedding up. Next month instead of waiting until spring. Gloria pretended to consider it. Why the rush? Because I've waited my whole life to feel this happy, and I don't want to wait any longer to make it official. Youngmin's hands settled on her waist. I want to marry you, Gloria, soon. I want our baby to be born into a family that's already official on paper, not just in our hearts. Are you asking to move up our wedding? I'm asking if you'll marry me next month. Small ceremony like we planned, just the people who actually matter. No big production, no media circus. Just us promising forever in front of the people we love. Gloria smiled. Will there be kimchi jjigae at the reception? From Mrs. Kim's restaurant, I'm flying her out personally to cater. Youngmin grinned. Is that a yes? That's a yes. Absolutely yes. He kissed her deeply, and Gloria marveled at how much could change in less than a year. One accidental fall, one man who refused to let her go, and a love that proved stronger than family obligation, public opinion, or fear. Devon wandered into the kitchen, took one look at them kissing, and groaned dramatically. You guys are so gross. Also, I'm starving and you're blocking the cereal. Youngmin laughed and ruffled Devon's hair. How does Korean barbecue sound for dinner? With the really expensive beef. Is there any other kind? As they headed to the dining room, bickering about side dishes and whether Devon's homework was actually finished, Gloria caught sight of their reflection in the window. A little makeshift family, bound not by blood or obligation, but by choice and love. Her phone buzzed with a message from Helen. Crisis team reports all negative press has been successfully suppressed. You're officially boring news now. Congratulations. Gloria smiled. Boring sounded perfect. That afternoon, the doctor confirmed that both she and the baby were healthy. Youngmin had canceled his call after all and sat holding her hand through the entire appointment, his eyes bright with tears when they heard the heartbeat. That's our baby, he whispered, awed. That's our baby, Gloria confirmed. That evening, they told Devon he was going to be an uncle. He pretended to be cool about it for approximately 30 seconds before grinning so wide his face had to hurt. This is so cool. I'm going to teach them all the video games you won't let them play, Devon announced. You absolutely will not, Gloria and Youngmin said in unison. The three of them spent the evening planning the wedding, arguing about details, and being the family they'd chosen to become. Gloria's phone stayed silent, the internet drama finally behind them. Youngmin's business continued thriving. Devon's health remained strong. Life wasn't a fairy tale. There would be challenges ahead, pregnancy complications, business setbacks, the normal struggles of blending a family. But for the first time in her life, Gloria felt ready to face whatever came. Because she had Youngmin, who'd chosen her over everything. She had Devon, healthy and happy. She had a baby on the way and a wedding to plan and a future that looked bright. Sometimes the best things started with an accident, she thought. Sometimes you just had to be brave enough not to get up when fate told you to stay. The wedding took place on a crisp October morning at a private estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. True to their word, it was small and intimate, just 30 guests, the people who'd supported them through the chaos of the past year. Gloria stood in the bridal suite, Helen fussing with her dress while she tried to calm her nerves. The dress was simple but elegant, designed to accommodate her growing belly. At 4 months pregnant, she was just starting to show, a small bump that Youngmin couldn't stop touching whenever they were alone. You look beautiful, dear, Helen said, stepping back to admire her work. Gloria looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was almost unrecognizable from the exhausted maid who'd stumbled through that party a year ago. This Gloria was healthy, glowing, loved. This Gloria had a family and a future and a man who'd given up everything to choose her. "I can't believe this is real," she whispered. "Believe it, that man out there is completely gone for you," Helen smiled. "I've worked for him for 6 years, never seen him like this with anyone." There was a knock on the door. Devon poked his head in, looking uncomfortable in his suit, but healthier than Gloria had seen him in years. His hair had grown back thick and dark after his last round of treatment ended. His eyes were bright, clear, full of life. "You ready?" her little brother asked. "Because young Min looks like he's about to pace a hole in the floor." Gloria laughed. "I'm ready." Devon offered his arm to walk her down the aisle. They decided together that he should be the one, since he'd been her family long before young Min came into their lives. As they walked through the estate to the garden where the ceremony would take place, Gloria's heart raced with anticipation and joy. The ceremony space was beautiful, white flowers, simple chairs, autumn leaves creating a natural carpet. The 30 guests turned to watch her approach, but Gloria only had eyes for young Min. He stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored suit, looking devastating and nervous, and so full of love that it took her breath away. When their eyes met, he smiled, that rare, genuine smile that he only gave her, and Gloria knew with absolute certainty that this was right. Devon handed her off with a whispered, "Don't hurt my sister or I'll find a way to hurt you back, even if you are rich and scary." Young Min laughed quietly. "Understood, I'll take care of her, I promise." The officiant began the ceremony, but Gloria barely heard the words. She was too focused on young Min's hands holding hers, his eyes locked on her face like she was the only person in the world. When it came time for vows, young Min went first. "Gloria, a year ago you literally fell into my life and I refused to let you leave. Everyone thought I was crazy. Maybe I was." He smiled. "But loving you is the sanest thing I've ever done. You've shown me what it means to be brave, to choose love over obligation, to build something real instead of maintaining something hollow. I promise to always be your safe place to land, whether you're falling into my lap or into my life. I promise to protect our family with everything I have. I promise to love you fiercely, completely and forever." Gloria was crying before she even started her vows. "Young Min, you've given me everything I didn't know I needed. Safety, love, a home that feels real. You've shown me that I'm worthy of being chosen, that my dreams matter, that I don't have to sacrifice myself to take care of the people I love. I promise to keep challenging you when you're being impossible. I promise to love you through every complication and chaos that comes our way. I promise forever, starting right now." The kiss that sealed their marriage was tender and perfect, witnessed by the small group who'd supported them through everything. When they pulled apart, both teary-eyed and grinning, the guests erupted in applause. At the reception, young Min's mother approached Gloria tentatively. The older woman looked frail, aged by grief and regret. "I was wrong about you," she said in careful English. "I thought you were taking my son from his destiny. Now I see that you are his destiny. I am sorry for my harsh words, for not seeing your worth. May I know my grandchild when they are born." Gloria hugged her, surprising them both. "Yes, of course yes. Family is about choice as much as blood." The older woman cried, and healing began. As the sun set, Gloria found herself on the terrace with young Min, his jacket draped over her shoulders against the autumn chill. He pulled her back against his chest, his hands settling protectively over her small bump. "What are you thinking about, wife?" he asked. Gloria smiled at the title. "I'm thinking about second chances, how one embarrassing moment changed absolutely everything, how you saw me when I felt invisible." "I'll always see you, Gloria. You're impossible to miss." Young Min pressed a kiss to her temple. "Thank you." "For what?" "For falling, for staying, for choosing this life with me even when it got complicated." "Thank you for not letting me get up," Gloria whispered back. "Best decision you ever made." "Second best," young Min corrected. "Best was loving you." They stood there under the Connecticut stars, two people from different worlds who'd built their own universe together. Gloria thought about the scared, exhausted maid she'd been, working herself to death and calling it survival. That Gloria never could have imagined this. A love that felt like coming home, a partner who saw her worth and fought for her, a family built on choice and devotion, a future bright with possibility. Devon appeared at the terrace door. "Are you guys going to stand out here being romantic all night, or are we cutting that cake? Because Mrs. Kim made this amazing Korean dessert thing, and I've been waiting very patiently." They laughed and headed inside together. Gloria, Youngmin, and Devon, the family they'd chosen and built and fought for. As Gloria took one last look at the stars before going in, she sent up a silent thank you to whatever force had caused her to stumble that night in Atherton. To fate, to chance, to the universe's strange sense of humor. The best love stories, she'd learned, sometimes started with a fall. The best families were built on choice, not obligation. And the best endings came when you found someone who refused to let you face the world alone. Youngmin squeezed her hand as they rejoined the party, and Gloria squeezed back, both of them holding tight to the miracle they'd built together. A year ago, she'd been a maid who accidentally sat on a stranger's lap. Now she was a wife, soon-to-be mother, partner in every sense of the word, loved fiercely and completely by a man who'd given up everything to choose her. The internet had called it scandal. Gloria called it destiny. And as she cut the cake with her husband's hand over hers, their friends and family celebrating around them, Gloria finally understood what happily ever after actually meant. It meant choosing love every single day. It meant building something real instead of perfect. It meant finding home in a person instead of a place. It meant falling into the right lap at exactly the right moment and having someone refuse to let you go. Forever started with an accident. Happily ever after started with a choice. And they lived it, fully and joyfully, every single day after. If this story gave you all the feels, show some love by dropping a comment about your favorite moment. Was it the lap scene? The engagement? The way Youngmin stood up to his family? Let me know. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button because we've got more romance, more drama, and more plot twists coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. See you in the next story.